Why, hello there, necromancers and paladins alike. Shams Nelson here from Fantastic Anatomy, and in this video I'm going to talk about drawing the skeleton for constructive purposes. That means when you're drawing the skeleton in order to draw a figure, not just trying to render out a really cool like skeleton warrior or anything like that. So it's going to be very simplified, basic shapes and things to consider when you're drawing the skeleton. So it makes sense. Like you'd think that you'd want to start from front view, but I'm actually going to start from side because I think there's a lot of stuff with the side view of the skeleton that you don't see in the front view. A lot of curves and things like that that are important to keep in mind when you do draw the front view. And as always in the studio, I've got Mr. Muffin Blueberry chirping in the background, so you might hear him throughout. So the first thing is that from side view, the skull is kind of elongated. It's not a perfect circle, and then you've got the face sticking out from there. And the next thing is that there's these two angles for the rib cage and then for the pelvis, and they go at opposite angles like this, kind of counterbalancing each other. So let's go ahead and put in a neck like that. And the rib cage is something like this, a little pointier at the bottom. And then the skeleton follows here. And one measurement I kind of keep in mind is the top of the head to here to down to here is about where the nipples will be. So just a general measurement to keep in mind. And then here is just around where the navel will be, and then one more head down is where the bottom of the pelvis should be. So we've got this, so I made this line too far down, it should be somewhere here. And the pelvis, I usually simplify it when I'm drawing as like something like that shape. It can be a regular rectangle. You can simplify in a bunch of ways, but something like that usually works. Or if you want to be a little more detailed, and this actually I kind of like this way of doing it too, is to make it, it's kind of like a weird S. I don't know if you see that, like that. And then right here is where the abdominal muscles attach. So you see right there, you've got the abdomen. That's why I don't know. It's nice to have that little point. And one thing is, like, this one's like almost straight up and down. That's kind of fine for a male. So let's say like I finish this off with the gluteus muscle over here, which will attach down to the leg bone, but I won't put that in yet. Then that'll look fine. But then let's say, oh, I should have left that actually. Okay, let's do this next to it for learning purposes. Okay. So then here, let's do like a female, a more feminine skeleton. So I think the rib cage is usually a little smaller and thinner on the female. So there's a little wider, there's a little thinner. And let's keep the proportions around the same. So have it come up to here. Anyways, I'm going to do this quickly because it's mostly... And the angle is more far back. And I think it's also more angled this way too, to counterbalance the pelvis, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So let's just do a square on this one. Okay, and if you were doing the S shape, I guess it would be something like this. See, this iliac crest is important because that's another landmark. Anyways, and that's why women tend to have larger glutei. One of the reasons is because the pelvis is angled back, and so you see here, if I just continue this out, and here if I continue it out, they're two very different forms. Okay, let's work from the top down. So I'll put there's a scapula muscle that kind of hovers over the rib cage. So I won't work on this one anymore. I'll come back to this guy. And then around here, you've got the arm, and then I usually put a little something like that to indicate the collarbone, and these two attach where the collarbone and the scapula both kind of attach where the arm meets, and the arm will come down. And I'm not going to go over it because it's going to get messy, but let's just leave it like that for now. And then the leg muscle, the leg bone, comes out around here towards the bottom is where the bone starts, near the bottom of here, and it's got a curve to it and kind of has like this sort of shape. So you see it bends in and back. And then there's the little, I like to put a little circle for, I think it's the knee bone. What is it, the patella or something? I think the patella is what it's called. And then you've got the This guy coming down, the shin bone, and the foot is kind of like two things like this. You got a little bounce here, and then this kind of like two little segments to come out to make the toe. And so here you've got the basic skeleton. Let's go over this part too. It's going to break into two pieces. You're not going to be able to see it that well from here. So here, how about I put it going forward? So from side view, it should be something like, so the way I remember it is the thumb side. So there's a bunch of little bones right here where the hand is, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are where the knuckles are, and then it just keeps going. To make a, and then I have a video on the hands for more details on that. But like I said, I'm gonna keep it really simple. And the hand usually has like a flowing shape, kind of like that. So when it's hanging, it'll be like, you see what I'm saying? It's not super boxy and rigid. It kind of flows more with an action line like that. And then the same with the thumb. It's got like the first part, which is this is all part of the palm, and then it's got like the two joints come out, and usually it'll kind of flow with the rest of the hand. So that's not very good. But the other thing I was gonna say is that the arm bone. We're gonna see this in the other section, but the arm bone. Yeah, let's wait till it gets to the next part. So here it is from side view. That's basically the basic construction. One thing to keep in mind is there's this kind of flowing shape here, and I like to exaggerate that sometimes. So you might make the femur like this. Obviously this is not in proportion here, so I'll do that. I wasn't trying to connect. You know, exaggerating that in the bones can make for a nice, when you build over it, gives it a really nice, like a flow to it like that. And yeah, alright, cool. So let's go ahead and go to the front view. I'll just make it. Alright. So the front view. Yeah, let's do the front view. I don't think we'll need to do the back view because it's pretty much the front view. Just turn around, there's not that much difference, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. Well, maybe I'll do it. Alright, I'll do them side by side. Alright. So let's just do, the skull is a very complicated guy, so I'm just going to simplify it really basically like something like that. And actually this mandible part is a little bit smaller. Like, see the cheekbones stick out past it? Something like that. And then, you know, this connects all the way up, remember, in side view. Oops, this should be elongated. In side view, this comes all the way up to the base of the skull. So you remember that. It's pretty long, but you don't see as much from the front. And then the rib cage is tilting towards you a little bit. And so here, 1, 2 to the nipples around here. And then, so you can just finish it off as a round shape and then cut into it. I think that's the easiest way to do it. And this is something that, like, I don't know, I'm still having trouble with eyeballing the size of the rib cage. It would be good to look at more, I don't know, how would you be able to tell? Like, because the rib cage with the muscles on top, I always want to draw it as the width of the body and everything like that, but there are muscles and stuff on top. Here and here is where it kind of touches the edge of the body if there's not too much body fat on there. Oh yeah, I will do the back view actually because the scapula are pretty important. Okay, so let's just do the back view right here. So for the back view, I'll just draw the cranium like this, and you can kind of see the front there, but I'm not going to focus on it. So like I'll make that really light. Okay, and then here you got the rib cage is full from the back. Okay, and see you can't, like, this looks super straight, but remember it goes like this. Spine's kind of something like that, attaching to the head up here. Looks like some kind of alien. And so the scapula do something like this. Alright? They're a little bit of an angle, and they come out pretty far, and then you got two arm bones, you know, from the front you'll have the collarbones. On this side, you see the collarbones coming out like this, and the scapula, you know, from behind. And then you've got where the humerus, is that what it is? I don't know. Alright. I'm not very good with the names. So the arm bone's coming out. The arm bone comes out to about down to here, and on here it has a it comes out like remember how the femur kind of does something like that, and then that's where the kneecap is, the patella. Here it kind of does something like that on the inside, and you can see that bone sticking out on the inside of your arm. You can feel that, and that's where that is. And it comes down to about where the bottom of the rib cage comes. All right, so let's do one arm coming in, like so. One arm, let's do sticking out like this, because this is easier. So the arm bones, like I said, I was gonna say about these. There's two of them in here, and that's important because they rotate. And so let's actually go down so you can see kind of how long they are. I have a problem with, or I've been having a problem. I've been working on it with the length of the arms. So the thing looks like a butterfly. Is it the pelvis? It looks like a butterfly right here. All right, and then it's got two things sticking out like this, and that's where it connects to the femur bones. All right, and so the arm, the wrist comes down to about there, and then the hand comes down a little farther. So just go like that. So that's about how long it's going to be. So this one, you're going to have it at an arc, so maybe around somewhere around there. You can estimate. And so there are two bones, and where the thumb, they go from thick to thin, and then opposite, thick to thin. I think it's the radius and the ulna. Okay, so that's kind of what they're doing. The thick part by the hand is where the thumb is going to be. Okay, so these are a bunch of little, there's lots of little bones down there, and then it goes, you know, a bunch of the, like 4 of these, and then there's where the knuckle would be, and continuing down like that. Okay, so so that means in here it's going to be thicker on the inside there part if we have the thumb sticking out like that, you know, something like that. Okay, that's a little too wide. They're like smaller, they're a little more delicate. So I was drawing that more like that to exaggerate. Probably make the brush size smaller to get these details in here a little better. All right. Anyway, something like that. So then when the arm rotates, so see how this one could rotate in here so that it can, the thumb was out here like this, and then it rotates this way. That means that the one that's wider by the thumb is in front. And remember that the thumb also is on the outside. So it comes from the outside part. This part stays pretty, like more stationary. And then this is rotating towards you. So that's in front, and then here, this is the bigger part, and that's in back. And so when you build on top of it, you'll see like that's basically the width of the wrist is the width of that bone. And then you have muscles up here. I'm not going to get into the muscles, the forearm muscles. It'll be pretty strong forearm right there. You know. And so then with all this, you can build on top of it, but I'm not going to go into that here. Okay, there's this guy. Sorry to jump around, but there's the sternum right here. That's a nice way of kind of like remembering what's going on. The sternum comes here, and then the what's it called? I'm forgetting everything. I don't know. I don't think about the names when I'm drawing. The pectoral muscles, they connect somewhere around here on the arm like that, and then they connect to the sternum. So when you see all these like on Dragon Ball Z, they've got these like rippling, you know, their muscles look like they're like about to tear open. They're all attached to the sternum part, and that's where right in the center there won't be any muscle because that's where they're both connecting. All right, continuing downwards. So I think I made the head a little too small. Let's do 1, 2. Well, depending how you look at it. See, there's the nipple. So that to that should be about the same size as the head from that to that. So maybe it'd be around there. That looks a little better. So that's one measurement that really helps. And let's do it again. Here's where and then here. So I got pretty close. It's actually, that's where the bottom is where here, and then these two are like kind of little extra knobs towards the back. So we're doing all right. Oh yeah, and in a second I'm gonna have to talk about the difference. Oh, I did a little bit, but the difference between male and female skeletons. So so maybe I'm doing this too much here. But basically the female skeleton, the pelvis is wider, and this slant is more exaggerated. So let me erase some of the stuff out here. Oops, I might need that actually. Alright. And then I'm going to make this a little smaller actually, because we're going to run out of legs. So one really important measurement, maybe I should have done from the beginning to make sure I have space here, is from here to here is the same as from here to here. So one easy way to do that instead of measuring out like that is to make two dots and then find the middle. Now you just divide it in the middle. Um, so let's see, we got the pelvis here. I never really built it out this way, so let's see if it works. Alright. So women have wider pelvises, thinner rib cages, okay? Slightly shorter arms. Okay, but I don't think that one's as big a deal. So maybe I don't know. I don't think I made them much shorter. Supposedly they have slightly shorter arms. I don't know. I haven't done that much research into that particular thing. So that means since they have the wider pelvis, that's why you get this kind of shape, hourglass shape. Since they have wider pelvises, this bone will stick out farther, and then these come in at a more extreme inward slant. So these are kind of more straight up and down, these are more inwardly slanted. Then something interesting happens where the patella, where the knee comes, these straighten out. Okay? And then these are much more straight. And this basically is like one bone, there are two bones, but let's say there's one bone like that, and then there's a little bone on the side. So you don't really need to think about that one too much. I don't think it's nearly as important as the two bones here, because they don't rotate around each other that much. The knee doesn't swivel. I mean, the socket here doesn't swivel like the socket. The socket here doesn't swivel like the socket up here in the elbow. So you should be all right there. And then one thing to remember is that there's this angle right here. So remember, there's a straight angle here and this angle here. And think of it as like a pyramid. That's how I remember that it's not the other way around. Not like this. Because a pyramid is a very sound or a stable structure, and your feet want to be stable. So they're kind of forming this invisible pyramid. And then what I do here usually is you can see the little bit of the back of the thing. So that's the back of the heel. And then there's these muscles. I have a video about the feet and hands, I think, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I just kind of fan it out like that. And then there's some toes. And I'm not trying too hard like right now to get everything looking nice, because I don't want to be too self-conscious and be like, oh, blah blah blah. But just to illustrate the idea. I mean, this is like catered towards, like, if you know all this stuff already, then you don't need me to tell you anything. So you're probably not even watching this video. So this is like more like just getting the basics, the most important stuff that you need to know to start drawing a skeleton, to start building the form on top of it. And in later videos, I'm going to go on about the muscles and all that stuff. I'm giving myself a figure drawing course, so I'm studying it from the basics. The first video I did in this series was gesture drawings. So if you haven't checked that out, like gesture drawings is something like when you just do something like that, just to get the idea. And then from here, you might come in and start building the skeleton, like, okay, something like that. Put in this, let's see, the scapula. And that's where like knowledge of all this stuff really comes in handy. Like this, I know it's curved forwards like that, like we were talking about. There's a curve there. I can kind of put this down like that. Alright, and then now I'm going to build on top of that. And so that's kind of the basics of constructing a figure. So that's what I'm kind of working towards. So here's the skeleton. Alright, we did the front view. I think I covered that decently. The back view, alright, let's see, the same kind of thing. Oh yeah, and the difference between male and female. So wider here, thinner here, shorter arms slightly, more of a curve inwards here, and that's pretty much it. Those are the main differences that you've got. I'm trying to think if there's anything from behind view that's important. Not really. It's pretty much the same thing. So if I was constructing, I might just do something like that, instead of drawing out like all these things just so I know where these bones are being placed. All right. The last thing to do is the 3/4 view, and this adds another element, and that is perspective. Because when you're looking at the front and side view, there's not too much perspective, like nothing like going to the vanishing point kind of thing. So this is the one thing I wanted to mention when you're drawing the skeleton in 3/4 view, and this is something I need to practice still. It'll give you an idea of what you're trying to accomplish. So let's say the vanishing point's right here. It's a pretty close vanishing point. Usually vanishing point will be like way off the side of the screen, but for the purposes of learning or whatever, let's do it there. Okay. So right here, and let's say eye level is where the vanishing point is, obviously. So your eye level is around here, the waist. Okay. So so in doing this, you're gonna have to keep these angles. So like if you're drawing the skull, the eyes, see how they're coming in at this angle? This is at that angle, this is at that angle, and it's gonna change as you go down. So the arms, one important one is the arms. So the rib cage kind of goes like this. Here's the sternum. Remember, it's leaning back. And one way to get that is to draw the sternum leaning back and then build off of that. Okay. Draw through so you can feel the spines like that. So the pelvis is above this line, so it's slightly downwards. And then up here, it's slightly upwards. See that? And the pelvis kind of has this cup shape, like something like this. It's a way to simplify it. This is important because that's like where the obliques and stuff, it's an important landmark. So this is sticking out like that. So yeah, what I was saying about the arm. See this, I made too much like that. This should be at downward angles. Or like towards the vanishing point. So let's fix that. So this should be kind of leaning towards it like that. That looks a little better. And then the arms, so here's one, and the other one's going to be vanishing away down here. There, we'll draw the scapula. Usually I like to draw the scapula first, and then the collarbone, if I even draw the collarbone when I'm constructing this. The arm goes down to here. This one, oh, see, this should be down this way, so that was a little bit of a mistake on my part. Okay, this arm. So look, see, I wanted to line it up like that. That's wrong. This is coming up here. It's everything's vanishing to there. Or I'm holding my thing. So actually like that. So this one should continue this line and actually stop right up here. And then this one doesn't line up right there. It actually continues this line and lines up down there. See how much of a difference there is between here and here? Even though this guy is not pulling one shoulder up or down, it's just, this is just taking into account perspective. And then remember the wrist comes about to down to there, where this bone is, like here. So now we're going upwards. We've crossed this line right here, the important horizon line, the all important. So now we've got this upward angle going. This is going to get especially important around the knees and the feet, where you're going to see it the most extreme. Up here and down here are the most extreme because they're furthest away. Alright, so let's just finish this off. Okay, I'm not going to go into see now the arm, at first it was down here. Once it crosses the vanishing point, the wrist is going to be here and here. It's going towards the top. I think you guys get the idea. Okay, kind of, it's leaning in. Even though when we're drawing it from front view, this knee lines up straight with the ground. So now when it lines up straight with the ground, it's going to be straight along this line. So there's the kneecap, let's say something like that. And then coming down here. Oops. See, actually, this should be leaning back more, leaning back more. So that's why I wanted to start off with the profile view, because if you draw from front view, you have no idea whether the bones are leaning back or forward or what's going on there. That's what I learned when I was studying this. So that's better. So now we have this S-shaped curve coming down here. And then look at how much, so this is going to be where the ankle is. We got the pyramid shape. Big toes towards the middle, obviously. Something like that. Alright. Anyways, so that's what you need to keep in, some things to keep in mind when drawing the drawing it from 3/4. And like I said, the vanishing point will probably be a lot farther, so these lines won't be as extreme. Maybe like that and like that, because they're meeting up way, way, way over on this side. So it's a subtle thing, but the one thing that's important to do is to keep it in mind. It's better to exaggerate it too much, I think, rather than not exaggerate it or get it wrong. Like if I was to put this above, if I didn't know where my horizon line was and I put this up here, let's just go ahead and do that for the sake of illustrating the point. Because I thought that I was, I thought, you know, it was still going like this, and I didn't realize I had crossed the leaning down like that. And now this arm looks super short, and this arm looks really long. It looks like they're not matching up. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, cool. I hope this video was helpful. Peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone.